Now, I know a lot of you have probably already written off Star Wars Outlaws because at times the game looks like this. But that might be about to all change. The Star Wars Outlaws news that's happening right now is actually pretty wild. And this links into the broader Ubisoft news, what's happening with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I want to say the current climate of gaming. It's definitely raining in the current climate, especially in Ubisoft's world. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. So it seems like there's a chance, based on the information we've just received, that Star Wars Outlaws is going to evolve into something much more than it currently is. A lot's happened with Ubisoft in the past day or so. I'm going to touch on the Star Wars Outlaws stuff first, and then go into the broader Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed, that whole side of the situation. But first of all, the Star Wars Outlaws social channels just put out this message. Outlaws, you've been roaming the Outer Rim for almost a month now, and we want to thank you again for your support. Your feedback is invaluable in helping us prioritize the improvements and changes we'll make to the game. We're hard at work creating multiple title updates which will bring optimization, gameplay, polishing, and tweaks, as well as quality of life changes, including adjustments to combat and stealth gameplay. To me, this says that they're basically going to overhaul a large part of the game. They're basically going to make it the game that I guess everyone wanted right from the start, which yes, it should have been. And yes, if you've seen my Star Wars Outlaws review, you'll know that I definitely was not impressed with a lot of elements of the game, and that even though I enjoyed some parts of it, it's far from perfect and far from a perfect Star Wars game, and in my opinion, definitely nowhere near the top end of most memorable Star Wars experiences ever. But they also continued, that's not all. Our very first story pack, Star Wars Outlaws Wildcard, will also launch on November 21st, and we'll see Kay and Nix infiltrate a high-stakes Sabacc tournament where they'll face off against the legendary Lando Calrissian. Probably lose to him, considering his gambling ability.
Full Sabacc.
In addition, new contracts will be added free for all players, which is good to see. For our PC players, we're also thrilled to announce that the game will be available on Steam starting November 21st. Thank you for being part of the journey, and stay tuned for more updates soon. The Star Wars Outlaws team. But that's only the tip of the iceberg here, because what's happening with Assassin's Creed Shadows is clearly influencing the future development on Star Wars Outlaws. So yesterday, Insider Gaming put out a post saying Ubisoft cancels press previews of Assassin's Creed Shadows, saying Ubisoft cancelled its online appearance at the Tokyo Game Show due to various circumstances, and that Assassin's Creed Shadows wasn't going to be shown. Ubisoft hadn't commented on this at that point, but then just this morning, they've revealed everything. Dear players, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dream project for us, finally bringing the series to feudal Japan with many features developed with our community in mind, such as parkour or the renewed stealth brought by new technology, all set in a beautiful and immersive world. This is an ambitious addition to the franchise, a rich experience that can be lived through the eyes of two unique protagonists. But we realize we need more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features. As such, we've made the decision to postpone the release date to February 14, 2025. So they're pushing it back a few months to Valentine's next year. The game will release on a broad range of platforms, including Steam at launch. Additionally, pre-orders will be refunded, and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. We understand this decision will come as disappointing news, especially to those who've been waiting patiently for an Assassin's Creed game inspired by feudal Japan, but we sincerely believe this is in the best interest of the game and ultimately your experience as a player. Rest assured, we're looking forward to the moment you will embark on a memorable adventure with Nawe and Yasuke. Until then, we thank you for your ongoing support. And this comes alongside announcements that Star Wars Outlaws has performed a lot weaker than Ubisoft expected, and they stated, while the game is feature complete, the learnings from the Star Wars Outlaws release led us to provide additional time to further polish the title. This will enable the biggest entry in the franchise to fully deliver on its ambition, notably by fulfilling the promise of our dual protagonist adventure. It goes on, but they're basically saying that Star Wars Outlaws didn't perform how they thought it would, and I quote, said that the launch was softer than expected. Basically, Outlaws hasn't earned as much as Ubisoft thought it would, and basically as a result of this, Ubisoft's CEO and executives have launched a review and investigation of the company to figure out why it's struggling so much. Maybe you need to launch games that aren't broken and don't have things that look like this in them at launch. Their statement reads, "In the light of recent challenges, we acknowledge the need for greater efficiency while delighting players. As a result, beyond the first important short-term actions undertaken, the Executive Committee, under the supervision of the Board of Directors, is launching a review aimed at further improving our execution, notably in this player-centric approach and accelerating our strategic path towards a high-performing model to benefit our stakeholders and shareholders," all that nonsense. They're reviewing the company, they're reviewing their actions, and they're reviewing, I guess, why their games that they're releasing are failing and are having so much criticism and feedback. At the end of the day, let's remember this is all about money. Ubisoft is a business, they're a company, they're trying to earn money based on selling us their games, but if the games are releasing unpolished, unfinished, at prices that seem unreasonable, then obviously people are going to be unhappy, and we're going to see the result of a Star Wars Outlaws, which basically I'm now kind of considering a cancelled game. The internet, as toxic as it is at times, has basically cancelled Star Wars Outlaws because it released looking and playing like this. And of course, you may have also seen the news of Ubisoft share prices dropping, that Star Wars Outlaws has had such a negative impact on the company, and that it's been a mess even before it was released, unfortunately. But all that said, something really positive could be about to come out of this, and I kind of feel like there's a chance they're going to do a Star Wars Battlefront 2 on this. What EA did with Battlefront 2, the game released and was a complete mess. There are accusations of child gambling in the game. I actually got to go to a preview event of Star Wars Battlefront 2 when it first released, and there was content in the game, like Darth Vader was unlockable right from the beginning in the preview event, but then when the game launched, he was hidden behind a paywall. You had to unlock him with either microtransactions or just by grinding hours and hours and hours. But Battlefront 2 underwent what some people call the greatest comeback in gaming history. EA went ahead and gave DICE the means to fix the game, adding new content, completely revamping the progression system, and adding a bunch of things to make the game as memorable as it is. And even though, yes, it was sad that it was cancelled and that the live service didn't continue well into the future, I think it's still a good example of how a company like this can turn a game around. Our launch can potentially go terribly, but then things can be potentially fixed in the future. That said, why does this seem to be the case with current Star Wars games? Why are they cursed? Even the Jedi Survivor launch was so messy with the problems on PC, the amount of issues people had with the game, that I believe some of which are still not fixed to this day. People still can't play that game on PC, which is really disappointing. Battlefront 2, of course, had this shaky launch. Even the original Star Wars Battlefront from 2015, EA's Star Wars Battlefront that came out, had issues at launch that people weren't happy about. The helmetless stormtroopers, stuff like that, the lack of content, even though the visual fidelity was so impressive. When are we going to get a AAA Star Wars game that launches that doesn't have all this controversy surrounding it? Jedi Fallen Order, I guess, is the exception, and maybe Star Wars Squadrons. And I think this line here from Ubisoft sums up what they're trying to do with Outlaws. They said that Ubisoft's development teams are currently fully mobilized to swiftly implement a series of updates to polish and improve the player experience in order to engage a large audience during the holiday season to position Star Wars Outlaws as a strong long-term performer. So even though the game has had such a horrible, shaky launch, the controversy, everything surrounding it, it seems like long-term they're optimistic that it's going to perform, but I think at this point they don't really have a choice. This is kind of what they have to say. I just like the fact that they're actually doing something about it. They seem to actually be taking action and are making the decision to put in a series of updates and implement changes that they've said are going to affect the stealth gameplay, that are going to affect some of the things people have criticized, including combat as well. Maybe you're not going to be able to punch stormtroopers with your bare fists anymore. Now, I also think it's rather interesting. Assassin's Creed Shadows has literally been delayed and pushed back a day after the new Ghost of Tsushima game was revealed, Ghost of Yotei. Obviously also set in Japan, same kind of theme, same era. Ubisoft have been accused of almost ripping off Ghost of Tsushima for Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I'm not going to say they did or they didn't. I still think Shadows looks kind of interesting in some respects, but I'm just hoping all of this has a positive impact on the future of Star Wars games, on Star Wars Outlaws into the future, and also on the future of Ubisoft. Maybe they're going to turn around and actually fix their stuff and hopefully become a more favorable gaming publisher. Remember when EA was the most hated gaming publisher a few years back, and now it's Ubisoft. People don't say anything about EA as much anymore. So what do you think of this? Do you think Star Wars Outlaws is actually going to improve? Do you think they're going to be able to fix all the things that are wrong with the game that people are complaining about? Let me know in the comments. If you want to see my full review of Star Wars Outlaws, watch this video here. Come follow me on Instagram, Twitter, join my Discord and TikTok. Also, sorry there were a few days without videos. I've been sick this past week, feeling a bit better now. So here I am, I'm back. And thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew, I'll catch you soon.